has secured a crucial victory in the upper house of Parliament. This for his legislation to revive a plan aimed at relocating asylum seekers to Rwanda. The Rwanda plan involves sending asylum seekers arriving on England's southern coast in inflatable boats to live in Rwanda. After more than 6 hours of heated debate on Monday, unelected members of the House of Lords, primarily former politicians and government officials, rejected an amendment that sought to quash the legislation. This with a decisive vote of 206 in favour and 84 against. The legislation then progressed through its second reading without a formal vote, paving the way for days of detailed scrutiny. Well, within the Lords, the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, the spiritual leader of the global Anglican community, issued a caution. He said that the government was leading the nation down a damaging path. The Archbishop also expressed concern about the potential harm to the country's reputation. Despite widespread condemnation of the plan, the Labour Party chose not to oppose the legislation at this stage. This time, they feared a breach of the constitutional roles by rejecting a bill approved by the elected House of Commons. Instead, their focus was on scrutinising the legislation. Moreover, debates and votes on amendments are anticipated next month. The Lords are expected to exert their influence to modify the legislation during later stages of the parliamentary process. In the midst of his Conservative Party trailing in the opinion polls ahead of a potential election later this year, Sunak has heavily invested political capital in the Rwanda policy. This was done with an aim to fulfil his promise to stop the boats. Over 1,000 asylum seekers have arrived in Britain via small boats this year, despite Britain having already paid Rwanda approximately $305 million to accommodate asylum seekers. Logistical challenges and legal issues have prevented the actual implementation of the relocation plan.
The vote.
Well, for more on this, we're now being joined by Julia Chapman from London. Julia, a significant day and a step forward for Rishi Sunak's Rwanda plan. How significant is yesterday's vote in the Lords?
Well, undoubtedly it is a win for Rishi Sunak, but not perhaps an unexpected one. This was an early stage of the scrutiny of this bill in the House of Lords, the UK's upper house of Parliament. As you say, this is an unelected body, and their role really is to look in detail at the legislation that has already been approved by the lower house, the House of Commons, and look at it very carefully before potentially sending it back to the Commons to make some more amendments. But we saw it pass its first hurdle on Monday night. Quite overwhelming support, although the opposition Labour Party said the reason it was doing that and backing this bill, which it didn't do in the Commons, was that this was something that needed to be done by the elected members of Parliament, saying it wasn't the Lords' role to stop this bill. It was simply to scrutinise it and make it better. So that is what we are likely to see in the weeks to come. At the next stage, we're expecting to see the peers in the House of Lords looking very closely at this bill and examining what it should go forward with and what it should be left out of. We saw some very impassioned speeches by a number of peers on Monday, including, as you say, the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, saying this was damaging to the United Kingdom, that people who are seeking asylum in this country deserve respect, something he seemed to imply was not being offered by the plan to deport them to Rwanda for their asylum claims to be processed there. But as you say, Rishi Sunak has very much staked his reputation on this bill going forward. It could still get bogged down in the House of Lords in the weeks to come. The Prime Minister says he wants to see planes taking off for Rwanda in the spring, ahead of an expected general election later this year. It would be seen by his Conservative Party as a big political win if he can make that happen. So certainly it could get bogged down and slowed down, but ultimately it is now expected to pass in some form. It's just a matter of how much it will need to change in order to meet the approval ultimately of the House of Lords.
Some twists and turns to come, I think. Many thanks, Julia Chapman, joining us live from London.